as a D1 strength coach, what is one piece of advice you would give to the young athletes and parents listening that you really want them to hear? Malorie, welcome to the Strong Female Athlete podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I am stoked for this episode, and this is very anticipated by my audience. So I posted the other day that I'm having a D1 strength coach on the podcast to talk about expectations in the weight room and with speed at that level. And everyone liked it. Like, it was crazy the amount of likes it got. So no pressure. Everyone is waiting for this episode.
Great. Well, yeah, I applaud you for the work that you're doing of kind of like bridging that gap for these athletes, right? And I think clearly I see your passion about the topic, right, for female athletes heading into the college space, but it's also something I'm passionate about. So I'm glad we got to do this.
Yeah, it's super important to just really get the message out there to the young girls and parents listening why they need to start strength training at a minimum in high school. And we're going to get into why and what you're seeing at this level, some of the numbers your female athletes are putting up in the gym and with their speed. But before we get into all of that, where have you worked in the past in college strength and conditioning, and where are you now?
Yeah, so my path thus far, I've had a lot of stops. I got my start though at Texas Christian University. I did an internship, a GA position there where I worked for a year and a half with an array of sports, mostly football, cross country, and women's soccer. And I was really fortunate to come into that program at a time they reached their pinnacle of success. We made it to Elite Eight that year. A lot of athletes that now play for women's national team, the NWSL. So that's where I got my first taste of like, okay, I get excited about training college athletes that in my opinion are still developmental, but they want to go on to be pros. So kind of how you bridge that gap between, okay, youth soccer and college. It's like, how can I best prepare our athletes for the college space, but then go on and play professionally as well. Took a part-time job at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, working with men's and women's soccer there and an array of other sports. But ultimately, soccer led me there. I knew I wanted soccer to be my niche in the college space, and no better place than University of North Carolina. They are the school of national champions, and that's what I say. Went to go learn from some of the best sport coaches in college soccer there. Took my first full-time job at Baylor University in Waco, Texas. I spent 2.5 years there. I'm a part of a rebuild. So got to come in with a new coaching staff who had a new vision and a mission, and just really got to spend a lot of time in the weight room with our young ladies and build kind of my own philosophy and program on things. My first full-time job. While at Baylor, I did an internship at Austin FC, which is the MLS club in Austin, Texas. Right. Again, what my passion is all the way down from youth to professional, but I want to help bridge that gap from college to pro. I need to understand what the pros are doing so I can prepare the athletes I work with daily for that. Took a job at NC State in Raleigh, North Carolina, men's and women's soccer. That was kind of my ideal thing. At Baylor, I was working with other sports. At NC State, I got to focus just on soccer, both on the men's and women's side of the game. And then ultimately, I got a phone call 6 months later from a best friend, a mentor of mine in the field and in life, Jordan. I worked with her at the University of North Carolina. She got the job as the AD of sports performance here at Auburn. She created a position that's women's soccer only. So for me, it was a no-brainer. I got to go work for my best friend, a mentor, someone I look up to, work with the sport I'm passionate about, a population I'm passionate about, women's soccer, and a coaching staff who has a vision for my area and invests in performance training. They see the value in the weight room, in speed development, in conditioning, and how that influences the game of soccer, especially at the college level. So kind of a lot of stops, but I think each part of the journey has been important for like my philosophy on things.
Wow, that's amazing. And you've worked at some of the top soccer programs. I mean, it doesn't get any better than UNC, and you've seen some very high level athletes at the D1 level and then who went on to play professionally. Now, when we're thinking about the youth female athlete, she has a dream of playing D1 sports or professional one day. What are some of the foundational things she should be working on by middle school, high school to get ready for the gym in college, the speed demands and the game demands?
Yeah, I kind of will break this down into the weight room, but then you touched on like speed and then also conditioning. So let's talk weight room first, right? I want an athlete first and foremost to move exceptionally well. Let's learn to squat, let's learn to hinge, push, pull with our upper body, stabilize and rotate through the pillar or the core, like our trunk area. And with that, right, if an athlete commits to Auburn, I provide them a training program and I kind of have some goals for them before they arrive on campus. They get training from me 4 months in advance. And it's like, okay, how are we going to gradually progress to where I would ideally like you to be? Now, what that ideal situation is, in my mind, I would love if a female athlete could come in, front squat the equivalent of their body weight, and RDL the equivalent of their body weight. I don't think we're there yet, right? We need people like you who are establishing this culture in the youth population to get there, but not everyone's there. A lot of these young women have not had exposure to performance training. So I set the goal of 75%. Can we squat 75% of your body weight? And can we RDL 75% of your body weight when you arrive on campus, right? Movement and quality of movement is important first and foremost, but I've found a lot of success with that, right? Our athletes are working through a program gradually that's getting them to that point, and then they get on campus and that gives me a lot more bandwidth to work with. They already have a pretty strong basis of strength, and now we can build off of that. When it comes to the upper body, I love just body weight things, right? Chin ups and push ups. I find it super empowering for a young female athlete to come in and be able to move their body weight, but then to also leave college and go into a public gym, even if they're working a 9 to 5 job, and be able to do those things. So I set the basis of, can you give me 5 good push ups, right? All the way down, all the way up. Elbows are 45 degrees from the rib cage, right? We're not worming it up, like the whole body's moving together. And then 3 good chin ups, right? These can be neutral grip or palms towards you, chin ups all the way up, all the way down when you arrive on campus. Can we be there? Not everyone is there, and that's okay, but we're setting these kind of goals for ourselves to work throughout our training. And I think a lot of them experience success and are able to recognize when they are moving the needle forward and are making strength gains, right? Someone may start not be able to do a chin up at all. Them getting their first chin up on their own, that's a win. And I think people may look at me and be like, why is it important to train upper body specifically for the sport I work with, soccer? It's a contact sport. In college soccer, I always joke around. Freshmen will get their welcome to college soccer on day one when an upperclassman puts them on their butt in practice, right? When you're going shoulder to shoulder with the athlete, that total body strength from head to toe matters and makes a difference when you're competing against someone who has 3 years of college experience on you.
Wow, okay, so there's a lot to unpack there,
I was gonna
and
say, I kind of
I
just yapped a lot.
no, it's great, and I'm so glad you're saying some of these numbers because I know a lot of high school girls, by the time they're upperclassmen, they might be working with a strength coach, but they don't know their numbers. Like, they
Mhm.
haven't been working towards, like, front squatting their body weight or 75% of body weight or deadlifting at minimum their body weight, which come on everyone, that's a non-negotiable now by the time you're in high school. So I think it's important that to the parents listening, they get their young girl in an actual strength program and not just work with a trainer where it's like random workouts, you're not tracking your weights, you have no clue what your numbers are, because in college you track everything. You have
Right.
them fill out their cards, or if you use a software system, they have to get used to those progressions and understanding when to go up in weight. So, any other numbers in the weight room? So you said the squat, deadlift, any like single leg stuff that like some of your girls are putting up with, like single leg RDLs or single leg squats or split
Yeah, I
squats?
haven't really, honestly, I'm not the type of coach that is big on like maxing out or 1 rep maxes and things of that nature. I let a lot of that come organically through training. If like, hey, you're feeling good and you want to give me 2 reps heavy today instead of that last set of 5, whatever, we'll do that.
Mhm.
So I have those things for like our bilateral movements, yes, but our single leg stuff is more so just based off of like feel or what we're doing bilaterally. So I can't say I have exact numbers, but it's nothing for our ladies. Today we'll have a reverse lunge. We've been doing front rack, barbell reverse lunge. It's nothing for them to have 230 on the bar, right? Like I always say, like throw two big cookies on each side, like get 230, 245-pound plates on each side. And for some of them, that's nothing, right? Younger athletes, okay, we're not there yet, but okay, you're throwing 135 on the bar and we're moving it with intensity and with speed. But I think I want to kind of go back to something you said that stood out to me, right? A lot of young athletes are doing workouts, they're not training. There's a difference, right? Parents are like, oh, they see this flashy thing and they're doing these flashy exercises with Bosu balls, whatever. Okay, there's probably a time and place. Context is important, right? But you need your young athletes, you need to be training, you need to have goals, you need to have established periodization and programs that you're following, not one off sessions. Those one off sessions are not really serving you a great purpose long term.
Oh man, thank you for bringing that up because the whole like, pay as you go, the session by session model where girls kind of pop in and out. I'm like, that's not college strength and conditioning. Like, you'll be with your strength coach at least 2 times a week during the season, in the
Mm.
off season, maybe more. And it's a program periodized, like you said, and they have to get used to that. And they have to get used to reading, okay, what's a set? What's reps? What are the rest times for strength stuff? And I always tell my girls, look, I'm not only trying to get you stronger, I'm getting you ready for college. So your strength coach is like, wow, they know this already. I don't really have to teach them and get them acclimated. So is that like cool for you to see like freshmen coming in where they have the strength numbers and they're like really understanding of how a program works?
Yes. And I have to give a shout out to, we have a freshman this year who has a phenomenal strength coach back home. His name's Ray Zingler. He's pretty prominent on social media lately, works with a lot of youth athletes. And I remember he messaged me in the spring and was like, hey, I work with one of your incoming soccer players, Malia. She's a goalkeeper. He sent this long message. She's a dog. She deadlifts as a freshman in high school, trap bar deadlifted 405. And I'm like, okay, like,
What?
you get those messages and you're like, all right, like I take it with a grain of salt. And because I'm like, okay, how does she move? Is she gonna be able to front squat? Like I'm big on butt to calves. We're sitting all the way
Yes.
down, truly like gaining strength at all ranges of motion before we shorten it at all. And this, I mean, he's just raving about her. And I see the videos he's posting and she gets it. She's a dog. Like
Mhm.
this girl knows how to move well. She's strong. And it gets me excited because I can put her at a rack and I still do my job. I coach her, but I trust her to do everything that she's supposed to do with intent and do it really well. And there's a lot of times in our lift, there's one of me, 27 young women. I don't even know if I watched her lift that day because I'm dealing with Sally and Susie over here, but I trust Malia to do what she's supposed to do, right? I mean, in with Ray, she gosh, box squatted 455.
Oh my
I
gosh.
mean, this kid is is a brick wall. But here's the best part, right? Because sometimes I'm like, does that correlate to on the field, right? And she's a goalkeeper, so it's a little bit different, maybe than a field player. But she's agile. She can jump. She's fit. She's probably our most conditioned player, our goalkeeper on the team. So she gets it done. She checks all the boxes, and she's really, really strong. And I think that is going to serve her a great purpose long term, durability wise.
Wow, that is absolutely incredible. And parents of goalkeepers listening, oh my gosh, the goalkeeper arguably needs to be the strongest and most conditioned, I'd say.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But yeah, it's really good like as a freshman to just know everything going in, get on your strength coach's good side and kind of feel like you're a part of that gym culture. And you don't want your first experience in the gym to be when you're at a D1 school and you're like, I don't know how to do any of this stuff and you're panicked. I just don't think it's mentally good either.
Yeah, and I think right because I have those kids. I had one of those kids this summer, I mean, she's made massive gains. Like, I get excited every time in the gym now because we're 14 weeks in. These kids arrived on campus 14 weeks ago before season. And so we're starting week 14 together this week. And I just know she's going to do something that I'm going to be like, 14 weeks ago, you would have never been able to do that. But you have to remember for these young kids, right? You're coming into a new environment. So you're leaving home for the first time, probably with all these people you don't really know. You're living in a dorm, you're getting acclimated to eating different food, you're getting acclimated to a different schedule, a social life, managing sport and school. And then throw on top of it, I'm going to ask you to front squat your body weight, right? There's all this other different stimulus happening. So if you can already have those habits a part of your weekly infrastructure, it's going to kind of minimize that stress that you're already going to feel as a freshman from all these different avenues.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about it that way. I mean, yeah, the academics and just moving to a new place is stress enough. And then your strength coach is asking you to do this stuff, or, hey, we have a pull up test today. It's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, it's not good. So, guys, yeah, you want to get into good habits now and go in physically and mentally prepared for this. Now, let's shift to the speed part because parents and youth athletes listening, they want to improve speed. They want to have the speed for the D1 level. Can you share some of the speed drills you're doing and some of the data you're getting or the times that these girls are putting up? Hey guys, just want to take a quick moment to shout out our sponsor, Simply Faster, and one of my favorite speed timing systems from them, the Free Lap. I use it for my own sprint training as well as for my athletes, and they love it. It's super easy to set up, you can take it to the field on your own, and you can get accurate speed times to track your progress. Check the Free Lap link in the caption below to start adding timing into your speed sessions. If you know me, you know I love my Free Lap. If you're serious about speed, it's time to start timing.
Yeah, I want to preface with this. This is a really important space when it comes to speed, acceleration, change of direction work. And I think sometimes it's overlooked. The intensity of the college game is much higher than your club or your high school games, right? You're going to be exposed to much higher demands of sprinting, accelerating, decelerating in the frequency of it. The intensity of practice, higher. Intensity of matches, higher. So I think this predisposes youth athletes to some soft tissue health problems, right? Quads and hamstrings, just because you're thrown into college practice and it's like, welcome, we're going 5 days straight, high intensity, and they just haven't been exposed to that. So that's why I think the speed, acceleration, change of direction training is so important. But some numbers that our athletes are putting up, right? And then I'll get into kind of what we're doing and what that looks like for us. I'll pinpoint the really great things, but I think any athlete coming into college soccer should be able to do a 10-yard acceleration and a 1.7 or below, right? Mm-hmm. And I see a lot, our team is mostly 1.6 and we have a good handful of 1.5. And I'd say those kids are moving pretty well. And a lot of us are inching closer to that 1.5. When it comes to max velocity, we do some 15-yard build to 10-yard flies, and I see a lot of 1.1s, 1.095. They're moving. We have outliers, right? Our goalkeepers aren't always going to run that fast. We have some other players that's just not their cup of tea, and they have other strengths. But we're fast, we're agile. Our kids on the GPS clock, we had a girl the other day clocked 19.85 in a game. That's fast. That is fast for a women's college soccer player. And
19.85 miles per hour.
Yes. Yeah. She's moving. She is hauling down the field. I mean, we don't have anyone else right now at 19. I've seen other teams I've been at 19 miles per hour.
Especially in a game, that's really fast.
Yeah. We have a lot of kids sitting at 18, but I think your point exactly, right? In a game, that's happening in a match. I have to expose these kids to that stimulus before match day, because you go make that 40-yard run and hit 19.85 miles per hour and never have been close to that stimulus. That's concerning for me, right? So what does that look like in the college space, or at least here at Auburn? We're microdosing our speed work. Every week on the field, we're accelerating and we're sprinting in practice. That looks like acceleration for me is from 5 to 20 meters or yards. and we different times for different things based on where we fall match day plus or -1. We do a ton of plyometrics, jumping, so both feet, hopping, so with one foot, cycling through that same foot, bounding from one foot to the other in different planes of motion. That kind of I'm simple, right? It sums it up. We do our warm up, we do our plyos, maybe we have some A marches and A skips, and then we let it rip, and we're accelerating or we're sprinting.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that. I think some of these numbers are insane. And I try to tell people, hey, like, please, for the fly tens with like a 20-meter buildup, please, if you're like a freshman in high school, if you're in the low 1.3s or high 1.2s, you are on the right track. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
will be flying by the time you're 18 years old and you're going into college. So I think it's so important they get that exposure. And too often I see young female athletes, they're not doing the right speed training. And parents listening, stop hiring coaches where they're doing the tippity tap through ladders and they're not hitting these top speeds, or they're not timing them and they don't know where they're at. You need to start timing and getting these exposures.
Yeah, I always say to get fast, you have to run fast. And right, our speed drills, A marches, A skips, wall drills, I think they're great. There's a time and a place. I do like them for the younger population to teach limb placement, but that's simply all it's doing. Your speed drills are not what's making you faster. They're just teaching you where to place your limbs and the timing of things. What's making you faster is truly running reps of acceleration and sprinting, max velocity efforts, right? And I think to kind of talk about flying, so a 15, 20-yard build to a 10-yard fly, you have to gradually progress to that. You can't just let it rip one day, right? Again, exposing athletes to a stimulus they're not ready for. So I saw that with the group when I took over here at Auburn this spring. They weren't ready for the intensity of training that myself or our coaching staff in practice was exposing them to. And we had to take a step back, right? So now I'm like, okay, before an athlete gets to Auburn, I need to lay the foundation and make it very clear what I need them doing so that when they get here, we can progress in a safe and proper manner.
Now, I have a question. So there's 28 on the roster, correct?
Yep, we have 27, but we can have 28.
Okay. So for your field players, would you say most of them on those 10-meter flies, they're getting 1.1s, 1.0, closer to like 1.0s?
Most of them are getting 1.1s right now.
Yeah.
I would say
Okay.
like our goalkeepers are not getting 1.1s. They're more to like 1.2, 1.3s. And then we have a few outliers again, right? Like not everyone, that's not going to be their strong suit. Not everyone's going to be freaky fast. But I have a few players, right? A lot of the times our quick accelerators are midfielders or wing players, and then our best max velocity athletes are wingers or outside backs, because those are the tendencies they tend to express in a match.
Yeah. Yeah. And, even if you're in the 1.2s, I mean, you're flying, you're still fast. But at that level, I tell young athletes, look, if you're going into senior year in high school and you're still in the high 1.3s or 1.4s, I don't know if you're going to play at the D1 level. Like, there is a certain physical standard because we watch a lot of these games now and it's so much more fast paced and physical than it used to be even just a few years ago.
100%. And I think for a young listener who, and even that senior in high school, right? I think a lot of parents or young people look past this. If you're not regularly implementing strength training, the speed training on the field is only going to go so far, right? You need that development in the weight room to express power and elasticity on the field. So I think, right, you have to have both. You can't just have speed strength training. You can't just have strength training. You need a combination of the two to really be able to express power and speed and elasticity on the field, whether it's in your speed work or in match.
Yeah, thank you for adding that in because I think a lot of soccer players, even today, are still like, oh, why do I need strength for this running sport. And I heard the other day, like the coolest thing, the hamstrings are the conductors of speed. I think
Mm.
that's the best way to put it. So like our deadlifts and some of those bigger lifts, getting the hamstrings, it's so important. And like you said too, the upper body strength can play a role in speed, posture, and really opening up the shoulders and getting upright. So it all connects. Now I want to come back to plyometrics because this is another one young athletes and their parents get wrong. They think they have to do these like plyometric circuits where they're just hopping for like 5 minutes straight. And I'm just like, at that point, you're defeating the purpose of
Mm.
plyometrics. So, can you talk about how just the right plyometric program design helps with that bounciness and that speed? And what is the right plyometric like set and rep range and different adaptations we want?
Yeah, I think kind of based on your point about, okay, these plyometric routines where people are just jumping around. And I've seen this. I had a incoming freshman whose dad was talking to me and he's like, we do 100 box jumps a day. And I'm like, I don't know if that's gonna be the needle for, but right, dad, like dad's just doing what dad knows. So he doesn't know any better. So dad, I hope you're listening. Right. But I believe that there's not, I used to think there was a very like linear approach to plyometrics and you progress from bilateral, so 2 feet, to single leg, to you do your pogos and your light tier extensive jumps and you become more intensive. But now I find that athletes need a vast array of different plyometrics, right? So we need to be doing leaps, which is on 2 feet. We need to be hopping, bounding in different intensities, right? We need more extensive where we're getting a lot more touches in, maybe a quicker turnover, more intensive where maybe the range of motion or we're jumping higher, which right requires us to decelerate more and absorb more force. So I think we need to find a greater range of plyometrics and not stick to like one particular type of jump or bound. Expose yourself to many things, and I think that helps with like movement quality and just overall like global body awareness. And I don't have a great answer for sets and reps because in my space, I'm pretty adaptable. We do plyometrics or jumps every day. So we go out to the field, I run warm up for practice. We'll probably do some type of what I call a pogo, so bilateral jumps, um, forward, backwards, lateral, zigzag, one leg. We'll do some type of bounding, so from one foot to the other, whether that's lateral, whether that's forward in place. We'll do some type of hopping, and then from there, it just I have written out right my programming, and it makes sense in my space. But there's not like this said, hey, youth athlete, you need this many efforts of plyometrics a day. But I think they should be something that are implemented in your program weekly, like 3 times a week, probably. And you can simply do them before practice. You're already at the field, you're already warming up. Okay, can you expose yourself to some of these things, right? I think it does a lot for lower limbs, so the ankle, the calf complex, tissue, and ligament health.
Now, as far as the reps, do you kind of just cut it off when people are being less twitchy or they're starting to fatigue? Because I think people don't understand that plyometrics have to be like max intent.
Yeah. So I'll kind of give an example of like what we'll do today at practice. So our athletes will come out, get our dynamic warm up because we'll have acceleration work. So we'll do plyos, then have acceleration work. We'll do some pogo hops, right? So we're on 2 feet, active, reactive off the ground. They'll go backwards, 15 contacts, forward, 15 contacts. There's your 30 reps of pogos. Then we'll go into some bounding. They'll have like 4 to 6 reps each leg. So maybe they're getting 12, and they'll do 2 sets of that, 12 reps total on either side. We'll do some type of hopping, same thing, probably 12 reps total. Then we'll probably hit some more intensive jumps like continuous broad jumps. So for 3 reps continuously, they'll do 2 sets of that, right? So the rep range is probably anywhere from 50 to 100 reps total on a given day for us in practice, in the practice space when we're on the field. And varies in intensity. But sometimes, yes, if I look at the group and they look tired and fatigued, I'm like, okay, like after these 3 different plyos, we're done. We don't need to do the broad jumps. We don't need to do the hands on hips counter movement jumps today. Like we're good. We're not looking good. We're not looking fresh. It's probably not moving the needle forward.
Yeah. So we've touched on strength, speed, and plyos. Is there anything else young female athletes really need to work on to get ready for the demands of college sports?
Yeah, this topic is I'm going to call it conditioning. Let me preface by saying I hate conditioning. It's my least favorite part of my job. I tell our athletes that come to Auburn, and our ladies on the team know it. My job is not to get you fit. That's not my job. That's your job. So whether you're coming back from Christmas break, summer break, you're entering our program, there is running that you're going to have to do as a soccer player while away from campus. So you're not playing as much soccer. So I'm going to give you the conditioning. It's tailored to you based on our fitness test and a maximal aerobic speed. So it's literally built for you specifically, and it's your job to do it. I want you to arrive back on campus and we roll the balls out and we play soccer to get fit. I don't want to stand here and blow my whistle and yell out times as you run to a line. But I think that's a big piece, right? I think a lot of incoming freshmen think they are fit, right? And I say fit in a broad sense. For me, conditioning is the physical aspect. So or the energy system aspect. So anaerobic, aerobic system. And then also the physical aspect. So what are the biomechanics of the game? You have to be able to complete your soccer actions. And then the mental aspect. I had a freshman this summer who thought she was fit, right? I mean, this kid's playing 90 minutes for us now. So she's fit. She's a phenomenal soccer player, but she would be the first to admit that she thought she was fit, and she got here on day one and was like, oh my gosh. And she admitted it. She's like, I thought I was working hard all summer, but I didn't know what I didn't know. Right. And so I try to stress, like, you think you're fit, but you're not fit for the level of the athletes that are already here. Right. But that's what my job is for, is to help them understand that and guide them and give them all the tools and resources to understand that. Sometimes it just takes getting here and seeing for yourself.
Oh, that's such a good point. Yeah, I've definitely heard that too. Freshmen going in and they're like, "Man, this is a different ball game with the conditioning." So, yeah, you have to be doing some sort of program in the summer and like you said, doing that work on your own and still playing small-sided games and getting soccer fit. I think
Yeah.
the off the ball stuff, like people focus on that too much because of the fitness test, but you have to do both.
Right. Because it goes back to like the biomechanics of the game, right? You have to have the capacity to make the overlapping run, right? You have to have the capacity to get into the attack and then drop back into the defense if you're a 10 or a 6 in the midfield. You have to understand the demands of your position and be able to repeat those efforts for 90 minutes. Because it's one thing to run in a straight line, and it's another thing to play soccer for 90 minutes. And I know any soccer player understands that.
Yeah. Now, I want to pull up one of your tweets. Okay, whenever I do this, people are like, "Oh, what did you pull up?" So, about FIFA studying the menstrual cycle. So you said FIFA can keep studying hormones, but if we want fewer ACL injuries in female soccer athletes, the answer is already here. Early quality strength training. So can you expand on that?
Yeah, I think first, right? I guess I'm throwing shots at FIFA. I think it's great that women's sports is getting the recognition that they deserve in a sense, right? Okay, we're having this research funded for women only about women specific things, but I think we're missing the mark, right? FIFA's working study is, or hypothesis is basically that the fluctuations in hormones leads to joint laxity, and which is causes more ACL injuries or makes you more susceptible to ACL injuries. I think, right, that we all can agree the theory is going to be proved correct, right? We know this, or we assume this and have for many years, but then what? We have spent all this money on research, but haven't spent money on what's going to actually move the needle forward. And I think what's going to move the needle forward are people like yourself and I, and athletic trainers and physical therapists who are like, okay, before you get hurt, let's implement this training, right? Let's set you up to be more durable, to minimize injury. Sometimes it will occur. And that's just the reality. But what can we do to minimize that? And then also, if and when injury does occur, get you back on the field faster and safer. You already have this foundation of strength and quality movement patterns. So I think when I look at my job, right, in sports performance training, this is rehab, this is prehab, and it's performance enhancing, right? It is building robust athletes. You want to think about your muscle is your armor for war, right? Every time you step in the gym, you're making yourself more durable to go on the field and complete the movements of your sport and do so safely. So I think that's where it starts. People can disagree with me, but I don't think we're going to find the answers in hormones or turf and astroturf. People were getting into it on that post about astroturf, and I'm like, okay, that's not what it's about. I think, right, and there's a level of confidence and security that comes from being stronger and then stepping on the field with that.
Yeah, and it comes down to like controllable versus uncontrollable factors and injury. And female athletes will always have a menstrual cycle, and they should. You should have a regular menstrual cycle. But what we can control is that strength training piece. And like you said in the tweet, early quality strength training at a minimum, getting into a gym by high school, maybe late middle school, and sticking with it consistently. It's a long-term process, especially if you want to play in college. Now, with that, as a D1 strength coach, what is one piece of advice you would give to the young athletes and parents listening that you really want them to hear?
Yeah. Well, you said something that's going to relate back to this. So I'll kind of start there is right, that consistency piece. So I think a lot of this injury minimization reduction, it takes consistency, right? Back to, we can't just have sporadic workouts. You can't just train in the off season for 1 month. It has to be regular throughout your entire playing career, because you will get to the college space and we will lift twice a week. This week, our squad, we play Thursday, Sunday. We lift today, match day -2, and we lift Friday, the day after a game. And you have to be prepared to do that. But piece of advice, right? In as a high school athlete playing high school soccer, club soccer, if you're going on to play Division I soccer, you get here and everyone on our team was the best player in their high school and was an exceptional player at their club. And you get here and you recognize that the talent that once carried you and made you the star in that space is not enough to carry you in this space, right? So it takes an extra level of work ethic. Who are you on the field and off the field? And then consistency with that, right? Can you show up and work hard in every single practice session? Whether you're tired or not, whether you're having a bad day, whether you and your best friend are fighting or your boyfriend upset you. There's a lot of things that go on in the college space. Whether you're getting the playing time that you want or not, can you show up as the same person every single day that's going to work exceptionally hard? Because if you can't do that in practice, how is the coaching staff or your teammates going to trust that you're going to be able to do that in the match? Right. And then that consistency piece goes hand in hand with that. You have to be able to repeat that every single day. And just goes back to building really great habits off the field. That's what's going to separate you. Okay. Talent only going to take you so far. Are you on top of your nutrition? Are you managing your emotions well? Right. We have all the resources, sports psych, to help you and meet with you and manage all the different things and stressors of life. Are you in the gym? Are you arriving at the training room on time for treatment? Across the board, the kids that do those things and do them really well, they're my favorite. And a lot of times they're having a lot of success on the field and they're healthy and available.
Well, that's brilliant. And I think that's a great place to end on. I encourage everyone, please follow Malorie. I'll leave her social media in the caption below. She has such great content. She's posting just different exercises that work different muscle groups, her athletes, what she's doing at Auburn. So please check her out. And I can't repeat enough, Malorie, that consistency you touch on, it's so important. And when we look at all these strength and speed numbers you presented today, athletes can only achieve them with consistency. You can't just do 1 month of off-season training, then not see your strength coach for the rest of the year. So high school athletes train year round and find a
Yes,
professional to
please.
work with. So I'm pumped up now. This was awesome, Mallory, and I hope everyone enjoyed the episode. I will see you next time.